used to be stuck at the 10K a month mark for a very long time. And in this video, I want to break down on what I would do to get to $50,000 a month faster. And I will also list the 5 most influential ideas and frames that have helped me to get the business from roughly $30,000 a month a year ago to having my first $100,000 revenue month this year. My name is Michael Bohannes. We help B2B consultants, coaches, and agency owners build scalable client acquisition systems and stop depending on referrals. And I've been doing this for a couple of years now, but only recently we've had significant breakthroughs, and I wanted to document these steps that we took to get to that point. So what would I do to get to $50,000 a month if currently I'm at 10 to 20K? So the precondition for any major form of scaling is that you have a service package that you can sell to people over and over. I think many consultants, coaches, and agency owners make the mistake that they simply take on too many custom gigs. If you are a tailor and you create custom tailored suits, you can, of course, do great quality work, no doubt about it, but it will prevent you from scaling. Versus if you are somebody who can produce t-shirts off the rack. Right? I think everybody would agree with that. Custom tailored suits are great. And yes, you can indeed create a chain of custom tailored suit stores, but it will never become a multi-deca-million-dollar business. It's just not possible. Whereas if you have an H&M or an Inditex, that is, of course, very possible. And there are plenty of companies of that size that exist out there. So how does that apply to knowledge work, consulting, and coaching and agency work? Well, you need to have a major service package that you sell to, I call them rabbits, small companies. You go out there and hunt rabbits, maybe hunt deer in that analogy. There can be a couple of clients that are slightly bigger that you can hunt proactively. But what you cannot do is hunt the mammoths. Mammoths, the huge clients, the corporate clients, the 6-figure plus deals, they do come around, but they usually take a while to show up, and they are a matter of luck and the network and how ingratiated you are with the relevant people in the relevant positions. It's just not a good growth strategy. That's why we say you should go out there and hunt the rabbits and the deer proactively, build up a bank of success stories, and then use that as fodder to sort of network and put out content, but network your way into those mammoth deals if you want to. It could be even better to reject those mammoth deals and 100% focus on the smaller customers. So the precondition is indeed to have a service package that you sell to one avatar. So in summary, a precondition is to have a service package. If currently you don't have that and you really are looking for a way to get to, let's say, $50,000 a month, of course, you could do this by hiring other coaches who can coach your coaching clients. You can do that, of course, but it's one of those things that why would this person work for you if they are so good that they could get their own consulting and coaching clients? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. The McKinsey model, where you are recruiting very high caliber talent, is extremely difficult to scale and replicate because you constantly face the problem that they might just walk away either with your clients or they can get their own clients after they have learned from you. Instead, what you get if you have this service package that you present to smaller clients over and over and you work with them over and over again, is that you will define work streams inside that service package that you can then outsource to specialists. And those specialists are probably not as broadly skilled as those McKinsey style consultants. And those specialists then are unlikely to be able to walk away with your customers. Just to give you a very specific idea, we help our clients with building client acquisition systems. And part of that is copywriting, creating good cold emails, good calls to action, etc. We have an expert on our team who helps our clients craft that. And he's an expert in that. But he is not broad enough to be able to serve the clients as well as I can, so to speak. He's also much younger, so he doesn't have the trajectory yet. He definitely has the potential, and one day he will get there. But for now, he stays with us because he can make much more money with us than if he tried to get his own clients selling effectively the same thing that I sell. So I have narrowed the skill sets because we have a service package. I've narrowed the skill sets of the support people that we need to scale using hiring, using labor, and narrowed it down to a very specific narrow area that I can hire for. And if somebody were to leave us, it's a copywriter. So I can get a copywriter. Of course, I'd have to train them up. They have to have relevant experience in this particular domain. But I am able to replace this person much more easily than if I had consulting, generalist, high caliber MBA person who now leaves me, right? Who probably has then built those relationships with clients on his or her own. So that's the benefit of having a service package. Precondition for scaling is to have that service package. And then the second precondition that we have to think about is all this whole topic of work smart versus work hard. There's constant this superficial debate raging between, oh, work hard or work smart. Well, what does work smart actually mean? Work smart means working with leverage. And as we know from Uncle Naval Ravikant, there are 4 sources of leverage. I've added my 5th source onto it, but 4 main sources of leverage are code, i.e. software. If you have software, you can scale much faster. If you have capital, other people's money, you can scale much faster. If you have labor, scale much faster as well. And the other one is media, right? If you're famous, you can also, command considerably higher rates. Those are sources of leverage. I add number 5, skill on top of it. So that is also, it's not as smooth as the others, right? Skill is a very gradual area that you can gradually improve, but it's not as systemic and life-changing as is, for example, having a piece of software that makes money on its own. So those are the 4 sources of leverage. And working smart means engaging one or several of those sources. The issue is, before you have significant money in the bank, working smart is not really much of an option. Because if you have, let's say, constantly a 2-3 month financial runway, there's not a lot you can do with that, right? It's only just you who has to scramble to get the next gig. As a consultant and coach, many people operate on this at this level. Then people have to constantly scramble to get the next thing, and they cannot invest for the long term, because every time you invest to build up leverage, for example, by hiring somebody, you will take a temporary cash flow dip. So if you hire somebody, well, the person, you have to pay them, but for a while they will not be very productive. So during that time, while you're also training them up, you will not be able to generate as much revenue. So your revenue will dip probably. And so that is an investment. In order to achieve this, you need to have a cash reserve. So instead of all this discussion, work smart versus work hard, you have to think about it in sequence. First of all, you work hard, build up a certain amount of cash backlog, a cash reserve that allows you to invest into the next work smart element. So for example, if I were starting at, let's say, 10K, if most of that money goes toward just self-preservation, I would work super hard, let's say 80-hour weeks, to do more outreach, to just, approach more people, to try to close more deals. And I will predefine a certain cash reserve that I want to have in order to then invest into the first point of leverage, which I would suggest should be content. Right? That you have a decent content practice. You're putting out YouTube videos. You actually learn how to do YouTube videos in a decent way. You learn to do LinkedIn in a reasonable way, right? So that you have a basic level of content production. Also, for example, you might want to invest a little bit into your video setup, right? This video setup that I have has cost me, I think, probably around $2,000 to $3,000 in total. And that is worth it because my videos look much better than they used to before. And these little incremental steps help me to be perceived as more credible. Also, content means you have time to build your content infrastructure. And what do I mean by that? It is when, for example, you have a prospect who on a call tells you, yeah, it sounds interesting. I might want to work with you, but let me think about it. Let's reconvene a week from now. And then what do you do? Let's say you cannot convince them to sign up on that very first call. What do you do then between today and a week from now? Well, one idea would be that you have a predefined email sequence linked to videos where you address that particular prospect's objections and concerns. If you had that, you will make them to be much more likely to actually say yes to you on the next call. And that is so critical that this type of content infrastructure, to think it through, well, if that person gives me these kind of objections, what do I tell them so that a week from now they will sign up with me? To build that takes a while. You need to put some thinking time in. And during that time, you will not be productive. You will not be working hard on just getting the next client, but you are thinking a little bit more long term. You're sort of preparing for the winter. And so that would be the first point of leverage. If you will appear more credible to your target customers, it means you will have better show-up rates, you will have better closing rates, and that, of course, is a worthwhile investment than just going out there and hunting. And this can translate into as much as doubling your conversion rate. If you do cold emails, cold calling, etc., maybe on the average sales call, you will get a 10% conversion rate. But if you have content where people really, resonate with you, they take you seriously, you could get 20%, 30% closing rate. So that is an investment into working smart and using a point of leverage. Once you have this combination going, let's say you are doing outreach plus content, then you again stack some cash, you work hard to stack some cash, and then you can invest into the next leverage point, which would be team, right? Whatever your biggest bottleneck is, if you're currently spending a lot of time on lead validation, lead nurturing, then get somebody to do that for you. If you need somebody to do account management, get somebody to do that for you, etc. Then once you have a team in place and you want to invest into the next thing, well, I would probably go and invest into more cut after team. That way you are combining, you're thinking a little bit more sophisticated than think work hard versus work smart. No, instead you're working quite sophisticated. You say you work hard so that you can afford to invest into working smart. That's the way to do it. Okay. So now with these two preconditions set, a service package thinking that you can sell proactively and where you can sort of cookie cutter provide a standardized, templatized solution to your clients, and this working hard so that you can invest into working smart. Those two preconditions, here's what I would do to go from 10K or around there to 50K a month. Number one, make sure that you've really chosen a niche of people who consider themselves to be part of a club. SMEs are not a niche. I constantly hear that. Oh, my niche are SMEs. SMEs are not a niche. Okay. This is a lawyer, an ice cream shop, and a plumber. Those people don't consider themselves to be part of the same club. But if you say lawyers, great, that's a niche. If you say consultants, that's a niche. Hairdressers, dentists, that's a niche. Okay. And by the way, if you don't believe me, if you think, no, I want to do the niche of one, I'm the niche. I want to attract people just like me. In that case, I would recommend that you watch a video of me where I break this down as to why this is such a bad idea. Yes, I strongly believe that you should choose one of those classic old school niches and simply be better. Yes, they are more crowded, but they're also crowded very often with really incompetent people. Not the niches themselves, but the people who serve them, your competitors effectively. And you can be so much better than them in a very short amount of time. And these niches are just so much more reliable and you can serve them much better than if you choose some kind of left field. I want to have nurses who also like motorcycle riding and I want to serve them because I came from a line of nurses who ride motorcycles, anything like that. That's nonsense. No, choose a niche of similar industry type people. That's one. Then understand one or two really extreme or strong pain points that your avatar has. Avatar, ICP, the person you're actually going to be serving, and the person who opens the wallet for you. Very often, some consultants have the problem that the beneficiary of their service is a different person than the ideally you'd want this to be the same person. So understand one or two important pain points that they have that are strong enough that they would want to solve them and invest with you on solving them. Then create an offer, make it crazy good initially, and then ease off and add friction. What do I mean by that? Make an offer that any reasonable person, if they just consider it, they say, well, this is a total no-brainer. I'm going to do it. Let's say you offer something, especially initially, if you don't have much experience in an area and you want to get into it, work for free or purely on a revenue share basis. Right? People will very much appreciate that. They will give you case studies if you succeed, and you can test yourself if you can deliver results. So start with this kind of offer, then you can, ease off on it a little bit instead of working for free and getting a revenue share deal, which makes it, very unscalable, and you rely on them telling you how much cash has come in, etc. It's not a good scalable model. Initially, it's necessary, but then you can ease off and say, well, pay me per X amount of value delivered. For example, in a marketing agency, instead of revenue share payment, pay me per meeting booked. Or you can then go even on a retainer. We're going to charge you a retainer, and we guarantee you 20 meetings booked. And if we cannot get you that, then we will prorate a refund to you. So you operate on a pay first and then refund basis, right? All of those things are adding friction because clients then have to start paying you earlier, but you have started by providing a total no-brainer offer and then gradually adding friction. Okay. And for any other consultants who are working in let's say a cost reduction way, again, say you're going to work for free until we've realized a certain amount of cost reduced. In that case, I will take a 20% cut or something like that. Total no-brainer, should get most people over the line in working with you. Once you have that niche, avatar, and offer, create a shop window, meaning a simple website, very simple landing page, just some text, an introductory video, and a Calendly and testimonials below that. Have the LinkedIn profile aligned to that. Make sure that it all uses the same kind of language. Also that it's outcome oriented. We help manufacturing companies reduce their operation cost by 20% within 3 months, etc. This kind of stuff. outcome-based offer, and then invest into a small amount of content just to put out, let's say, a quick hello world post on LinkedIn, one or two, YouTube videos where you explain your methodology, and then you're good to go. Those are the basics. Once you have those basics in place, do outbound like your life depends on it. Okay. Content will not get you there early on. You do not have enough clout. When you're at 10K a month, you don't have enough clout. You don't have enough expertise to move the needle whatsoever. Any content you're putting out is funnel lubrication. Okay. It serves as a sales enabler for your outreach. So you do cold emails, cold DMing, cold calling, and the content that you put out there is so that when somebody who you approached cold wants to check you out, they can do that and they will do it. Okay. But content itself won't get you there. And outside of content, what else have you got? Right? There's only outbound. Yes, you could say you have partnerships. In my opinion, everything that I've seen, it never works. People tell me, yeah, I have this partnership where I'm on this one website and people refer them to me. Sure, the occasional one or two deals can come from partnerships. It's never going to be anything stable that really gets you to the next level in a predictable way. So do outbound. That's the most important thing. And as you do that, you simply stack cash and invest it into those leverage activities. So content, team, then maybe more outbound channels. At some point, you can start using the next source of leverage, which is capital, which is you start investing into ads. Maybe you get somebody to just do media buying for you, etc. And so that is the way to go from 10K to 50K a month relatively quickly. And I wish I had done this in a more structured way as I describe it, but you live and learn. But this is what I would recommend that you do if you're at 10K and want to reach 50K soon. And on this note, these are the most impactful thoughts. There's like 5 thoughts that this year, 2024, helped me to get from $20,000-$30,000 a month a year ago to our first $100,000 revenue month. That was not cash in. Cash in was 74K, but revenue was 102K. And so these are the most impactful thoughts that have really shaped me very much so this year. And the first thought is getting to 100K a month is super basic. And the first thought is something I got from Cole Gordon. And he says, getting to 100K a month is super basic. He said this in one of his videos. I'm like, wait, this is like a brain breaker where you think like, what do you mean it's super basic? I've been, churning away at this for the last 5 years and I haven't got to 100K a month. Why is this super basic? And he then explained his methodology in one of his videos. And I was like thinking, okay, well, it's all about just having one webinar, one marketing message that you use to book calls with prospective clients and then just closing them well. But that's it. That's the thing to focus on. Remove all the other complexity. Everything else that you're doing is not all that relevant. Just focus on that. And this thought, this kind of slightly arrogant way of phrasing it, it's super basic to get to 100K a month, which is like mind blowing to me. That means like 7 figures. This thought helped me a lot in kind of overcoming my own inhibitions and overcoming my own BS that kept me from doing it. And the lesson learned is sometimes it's useful to surround yourself with, metaphorically, because it's not like I spoke to Cole personally, but to surround yourself with those kind of voices who consider this to be like the bare minimum. Therefore, I say, if you want to grow to these kind of levels, listen to a lot of people who are in your space, who are at least adjacent to your space, like Cole Gordon, like Alex Hormozi, and just imbibe and through osmosis ingest their mindset. Because of course, once you will be at, a multi-7, let's say 8-figure level, you'll be looking back and also, of course, you will be thinking, well, getting to 100K a month is super basic. But right now, you just don't consider this. Right now, you just don't think this is possible. But you know that if you just keep plugging along, you will at some point get there. You know how people say you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with? Well, I don't think that is technically true. It's not who you surround yourself with, because I surround myself with my wife and my kids most of the time, and they are not rich or successful in any way. So it's not about that. It's about who you compare yourself to. Who is your reference point? And if you constantly ingest the thoughts of people who are at like a multi-7, multi-8-figure level, and you hear from them, well, it's super basic to get to 100K a month, you will at some point adopt that. Like I felt this striving towards 100K a month so strongly. And then when I reached it, again, revenue, not cash in yet, it's going to happen at some point. But when I reached it, it wasn't this major thing. Sure, I was happy. I told my wife, we high-fived on it, etc. But it was not a major thing because, first of all, I have much bigger goals than that. This is now I consider this the hygiene factor. But it was indeed this surrounding myself with and comparing myself to those kind of guys. Okay, so thought number one, who you compare yourself to, and thinking along the lines of, well, getting to 100K a month is super basic. The next thought that has shaped me a lot was a video by Alex Becker where he talked about how he stopped watching the news and how this kind of news is purely the entertainment. And I come from a, very news and politics oriented background. I used to be a political junkie. And so letting that go and stopping watching the news was huge. And this year, there was the US election, and I contrast this so strongly with the 2016 election where I was just consumed by the news. I was just constantly observing what was happening. And now I barely noticed it. Right. It was like I was completely off the grid. I was off the news. And then at some point I heard, oh, yeah, Trump won. Okay, good, fine. But I was not really thinking about it whatsoever. That was a huge evolution for me. And you have to think this was a key takeaway from the Alex Becker video is that this is all just entertainment. Your attention is making these people money. At some point in the video, Alex Becker says, oh, these influencers, they make tens of millions of dollars off your attention. And of course, it's true. And we know that. But we also have to realize that what you pay attention to, you are paying to with your time. Time is more valuable than money. And so anytime you are watching the news, listening to the news, you are being entertained. And that applies to everything. I used to also be a big Wikipedia rabbit hole kind of person. I just think about, what was it? When did the Khmer Rouge take power in Cambodia? I'm like a history buff. And so I got myself into rabbit holes on these types of topics, and it's just entertainment. You think, oh, I'm not watching YouTube videos of cats, riding skateboards. No, but even if it's something a little bit more elaborated, if you think, I'm just watching this Wagner opera, and I'm educating myself, edifying myself, you're entertaining yourself. You're not educating yourself in any way because this consumption of this media is not making you a better business person. You're not improving in what you are doing. You are just entertaining yourself. It is intellectual and mental relief. Okay. And so this thought was super influential to me because I already was quite good at ignoring the news and, abstaining from politics because it was such a triggering element for me in the past. But I also kept myself and prevented myself from consuming other types of entertaining content. I now don't go on Wikipedia anymore. I don't do Wikipedia history rabbit holes. I even stopped reading history books, right? I will definitely get back to it. I love it. But right now is the season for me to build. And so I've completely reduced my content intake of all other sources, anything that is not business. So this has significantly increased. My overconsumption of Hormozi and Cole Gordon and many other such people has significantly increased my success. I think this was probably the most impactful thing, not only because I was so focused on my business, but also because their insight, I was able to translate it and turn them into insights for my clients. Because I consume so much business content, I'm able to pass it down and hand it over to my clients. And I totally saw how the quality of my own advice has significantly improved this year. So that was influential thought number 2 about content as being entertainment and to avoid it. Influential thought number 3, that is Charlie Morgan's theory of pain, trial by fire. Expressed in different ways, the work just needs doing. Hard goal must be the work in itself. You are not pursuing the actual goal. You are pursuing your ability to work hard on a problem, on a specific task, on a thing, on a long-term thing, mid-term thing, and focusing in the hour on that one task that you're doing. If you can develop this skill and this ability and perform meaningful actions that will get you closer to a goal, you are learning to work. And you will face immense resistance because the mind does not like it. The brain does not like this kind of focused effort on something that is difficult where we don't know the outcome. But if you work on that skill, that is what will get you there. And we all know it, of course, but it's in the active pursuit of this pain that you are most likely to reach your goal. And if your goal is, of course, financially related with your business, then this is the thing to pursue. In this category, Alex Hormozi calls it the 30-12 challenge, I believe, where he says, give yourself the challenge of working 12 hours a day for 30 days straight. No weekends, nothing. Sounds pretty crazy, but we are familiar with these kinds of challenges. There's this 75 hard challenge from Andy Frisella. What's his name? Yeah, Frisella, whatever. And he also says, challenge yourself to do to exercise 2 hours a day and to only, eat raw meat and only crush ice and drink that as water. I don't know what's this, but we are familiar with these challenges where your ability to work hard is the muscle that you need to hone. So the 30-12 challenge sounds great to me. I'm not going to do it because I have family and I work 6 out of 7 days, 12 hours. So that is my challenge and I do that. But I have one day in the week that I take off. But for if you, especially if you don't have family, doing the 30-12 challenge can be a really good thing. The next thing is also in this category of theory of pain is never coast. Never once you reach a certain level. Let's say you're at 10K now, you're going to reach 30K at some point. Don't coast on that level. As soon as you get to that point, immediately like lift your head above the parapet and think, okay, what's next? What can I now do once I've reached this level? What can I do to get to the next level, right? As soon as you hit the next plateau, look for what's next. Serve the business. The business's purpose, the existence of the business is all about profit, creating a profit, maximizing that, and growing. And it's a real parallel to what the purpose is of a human. The human wants to survive individually and propagate. That's what the human wants to do. The business wants to turn a profit and grow. And so if you serve the business, that means never coast. As soon as you reach a level, look for ways how to get to the next level again and never just lean back. You can lean back once you've made so much money that you never have to work a day in your life again or wherever your goal is, right? But just never coast. That's the key thing. And then also, and this goes very much in line with the theory of pain, of it's really like a rocket that needs to hit escape velocity. I have a problem with consultants who tell me that, yeah, I'm willing to work 30, 40 hours on this business. And I haven't had many clients yet. I'm thinking, yes, you might make it. 30, 40 hours is not nothing. You will probably get there. But if you think in these categories, if you sort of are quarantining your day by, okay, so I'm giving it 8 hours this day, etc., then you're just less likely to make it happen. If, for example, you don't work weekends by default, no, I never work weekends, I take it off. Or I speak to somebody who's, oh, it's a public holiday today, so I'm not working. I'm always thinking you might make it happen, but it's also quite likely that you won't. And I've seen these people who in, relatively good economic times are taking this stance. Yeah, they are making 10, 15, maybe 20K a month, but then slightly hard times hit and they have nothing to fall back on. They have no major reserves and they haven't built systems to, tide them over the bad times. And they are the ones who then get washed out. The water level falls down. You see who doesn't have any pants on, to speak with Warren Buffett, and they need to get back and look for a job. I see this all the time. And so if you think on these escape velocity type lines of thinking, if you think like a rocket needs an escape velocity, like a minimum velocity, which is extremely high, eats a lot of energy to leave orbit, to defy gravity, that's the way to think about it as a business. You just give it your all, you for a time period until you are at and give yourself a certain level you want to reach at a minimum. You just won't stop. You will not give yourself, much social time. You will just not allow yourself anything but family, only run your business. And with that, you have a practically 100% chance to make 7 figures. Like we are already there. We've had a month that technically revenue-wise, we hit 7 figures a year. It's gonna take us a while to really make that stable and get there. But I just know that given my current work ethic and my approach to work, I have no doubt in my mind, I know 100%, unless something bad happens to me, that I'm going to hit 7 figures. I'm going to, have a net worth of 10 million. I don't know whether that's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but I know that I'm going to make that. If you give it 40 hours a week, you have zero chance to make 7 figures, extremely unlikely. And then the chances to, let's say, 10% chance to make 20K and to stay in business over the long run, I think that chance is maybe 10 to 20%.